Section 3 on Unit C looks at the role of constructive feedback within education and training. Now, as you can see from here, we've got the layer cake sort of technique identified on this slide. So the idea being that we've got 3 layers when we're giving feedback to our sort of learners and students, and the idea being that this technique keeps them motivated. So you can see the top layer, we start off with sort of real positive contributions from the students and learners. So for example, when you actually give each other feedback for your micro teachers, you're expected to actually start with 3 or 4 points, really positive, what you actually enjoyed about that particular presentation. The middle layer, the smaller layer, that's where you come on to the areas for development, the sort of constructive points. So if you identified, someone really struggled and there was 7 or 8 weaknesses or areas you think they need to improve, there's no point just sort of rattling through all of those. You tend to pick out the 1 or 2 points that you think are most sort of pivotal for their development and just sort of demonstrate and show how they could actually improve these. And then finally, the bottom layer, that's when you come on to sort of finishing on a high and you just reinforce and echo the positive points, the idea being that the person actually feels motivated by the end of their feedback. So the benefits of sort of good feedback on here, as you can see, they should actually motivate someone. So after someone's been given their feedback, they should feel motivated. They should have some direction and targets, know where they need to go. There's no point just giving people loads and loads of positive feedback and not telling them how they could improve, because ultimately when people are being observed and actually receiving feedback, that's what they want to know. They want to know how can they better themselves and give them plenty of ideas and direction for that. I've put there rapport and respect. Okay, so obviously if you give them good constructive feedback and you develop a relationship with them, then they're likely to trust you, and that's likely to mean that the actual feedback they're receiving is actually more meaningful to them. And finally, I've put confidence. So if you actually give them lots of feedback on a regular basis, tell them what they're doing well, let them know how they've improved, then obviously it is likely to actually improve their confidence overall. Finally, on feedback, I've had a little look at the different ways that you might give feedback. And so those 3, verbal, written, and sort of discussions, group discussions, all of those will be in place on your micro-teach day. Okay, so when someone's finished their micro-teach, they'll get sort of immediate verbal feedback from both the tutor and from their peers. There'll be written forms completed by their peers and the tutor, sort of detailed written feedback. And then finally, there is sort of a group discussion, giving people opportunities to actually express their thoughts within the group. So there are your different types. I've also mentioned on there that you should actually be giving the feedback immediately if possible, particularly the verbal side, because the quicker you give feedback, the more meaningful it is. If you were to leave feedback from an observation, for example, for a week or more, then it becomes far less meaningful and people forget what they actually did. So wherever possible, you should be giving feedback, using the different methods and as soon as possible after the assessment has taken place.